Waiting for the fish to bite, or waiting for the wind to fly a kite, or waiting around for Friday night, or waiting perhaps for their Uncle Jake, or a pot to boil, or a better break, or a string of pearls, or a pair of pants, or a wig with curls, or another chance. Everyone is just waiting. No, that's not for you. Somehow you'll escape. All that waiting and staying, you'll find the bright places where the boom bands are playing. With banner flip-flapping, once more you'll ride high, ready for anything under the sky.
That was MAGA Republican Senator J.D. Vance reading Dr. Seuss books on the Senate floor as MAGA Republicans have waged a talking filibuster to try to delay any aid package from passing both the Senate and then the House of Representatives to be signed into law by President Biden. You'll recall that the MAGA Republicans killed a bipartisan border deal, which they first claimed that they needed in order to provide aid to Ukraine. And after killing the bipartisan border deal because Donald Trump told MAGA Republicans that he wants to run the election on whining about chaos in the border versus solving the problems, you've got a group of MAGA Republicans saying, because we're not addressing the border, even though we killed the bipartisan border deal, that's why we're not going to support Ukraine and do a speaking filibuster to try to delay aid getting to Ukraine, even though there were sufficient votes to advance the national security supplemental. And then you have another group of MAGA Republicans who are citing Tucker Carlson's interview with Vladimir Putin, an American who did a literal propaganda piece for Vladimir Putin to say, you see, Vladimir Putin says that this could all be resolved if we don't give Ukraine aid. And then you've got MAGA Republicans like J.D. Vance literally reading Dr. Seuss while on the Senate floor. Folks, this isn't a both sides issue. I don't know how else to look at this other than to say that at every step of the way, MAGA Republicans, led by Donald Trump, are trying to undermine our national security, whether it's at the border or through our national security interest abroad, and hurting our alliances. Here, by the way, is Rand Paul continuing this talking filibuster, and you'll hear what he says. There's an invasion at the border, and that's why we can't support Ukraine, because we need to stop the invasion. There was a bipartisan border deal that y'all literally killed because Donald Trump said to do it. Here, play this clip of MAGA Republican Rand Paul.
Open the champagne, pop the cork. The Senate Democrat leader and the Republican leader are on their way to Kiev. They've got $60 billion they're bringing. I don't know if it'll be cash in pallets, but they're taking your money to Kiev. Now, they didn't have much time, really no time and no money to do anything about our border. We're being invaded. A literal invasion's coming across our border. 800,000 people came illegally in the last month. And all they had time to do in the Senate was get the money, get the cash pallets, load the planes, get the champagne ready, and fly to Kiev. On Friday, they will take the $60 billion to Kiev, crack the champagne, and meanwhile, each day, between 5,000 to 10,000 people come across the border illegally.
Here's Lindsey Graham attacking the Prime Minister of Poland, because the Prime Minister of Poland said Ronald Reagan would roll in his grave if he saw these MAGA Republicans were basically working for Vladimir Putin at this point. And you'll see Lindsey Graham goes on with a similar argument to try to undermine our national security. Lindsey Graham, by the way, in the speech, he tries to invoke John McCain's name later on, which is just so horrific and so offensive, because McCain would be absolutely mortified if he saw what Lindsey Graham has become. Play this clip of MAGA Republican Lindsey Graham.
This is the Polish Prime Minister. Like Poland, been a great ally, good NATO ally. Dear Republican senators of America, Ronald Reagan, who helped millions of us to win back our freedom and independence, must be turning in his grave today. Shame on you. To the Prime Minister of Poland, I could care less what you think. To the Prime Minister of Poland, if Ronald Reagan were alive today, we wouldn't have this broken border. To the Prime Minister of Poland, I want to help Ukraine. I want to help make it stronger NATO. But my country is on fire. We've had 7 million people come across a broken border. How would you feel if 7 million people came in illegally into Poland? Would you have this attitude? We got to put Ukraine ahead of Poland? I am not going to put Ukraine, Israel, or anybody else ahead of America. I am going to try to create an outcome where the bill gets through the House. It's got to get through the House. And to our House colleagues, we have not done everything we could. We have let you down. Now I yield.
Here's MAGA Republican Senator Tommy Tuberville literally quoting Vladimir Putin's interview with Tucker Carlson. Play this clip.
Wouldn't mind seeing anybody trying to negotiate this Ukraine-Russian war. So what's your response? All these people are piling on you.
Well, diplomacy, Larry. They have no clue up here about that. You know, we need to get this over with for the American people and for Ukrainians and the Russians. This needs to be over, but nobody wants to talk about it. It's whatever we have to do. That's Joe Biden's game plan. Well, Ukraine can't win. Now, the people now in Washington, D.C., after we've already given them $120 billion, they don't know how to get out of this. So what do? We're going to double down. We're going to send them $60 billion more of the taxpayers' money, by the way, that we don't have. And it's not going to make any difference and for 6 or 7 months, even if it were to pass the House, which I don't think it will. So it's not an immediate help. We're giving weapons from Israel to Ukraine. I know you saw that probably in the New York Times. Our weapons that are stored in Israel are going to Ukraine. It doesn't help. Vladimir Putin wants out of this. You heard that on Tucker Carlson. Diplomacy. What happened to diplomacy?
By the way, you had Tucker Carlson after that interview say that he likes Moscow better than any American city. I mean, you had Vladimir Putin literally mocking Tucker Carlson to his face, and Tucker Carlson, like a weak little loser, just standing there accepting all of Putin's propaganda. I'll show you just a very tiny portion of that. Here, play this clip.
Said, Volodya, what are you doing? Why are you supporting neo-Nazis in Ukraine today? While your father fought against fascism. He was a frontline soldier. I will not tell you what he answered. This is a separate topic, and I think it's incorrect for me to do so.
Here, by the way, is Tim Scott, MAGA Republican senator, and here he parrots the same line about the border. Play the clip.
Finally, I just want to ask whether or not this new bill that's just about foreign policy, whether you're going to vote in favor of it. Foreign money for Israel, for what's happening in Ukraine. What do you think of that standalone foreign policy bill?
David, I voted no already a few minutes ago, and here's the reason why. Unfortunately, what this administration and Chuck Schumer, they are doing is using the crisis in Israel to support other priorities of the party. We should first secure our southern border. Second, provide resources to Israel. Third, take a look at Indo-Pacific. And fourth, make sure that we have accountability woven into any resources that we give to Ukraine. Without doing those four things in succession, it's going to be hard for Republicans to support it.
Yeah.
And by the way, just so you can see, this is the vice president of the Border Patrol Union right here saying that he supported the border bill. Play this clip.
Because what this bill essentially does is, yeah, you hear a lot of talk on the 5,000 cap, okay? But what that is right now there is no cap. So everyone that comes across that for asylum gets released. Under this bill, everyone's going to get detained. You're not just going to be releasing. Why is it 5,000? Because they're saying, you know, they're going to hold up to 5,000 that they're going to go through the process, but the processes are more strict than they are now. So now the asylum officer will make the determination on the asylum, and if they don't have a good asylum claim, they're going to get, you know, sent back immediately without ever getting released. And as opposed to now, everyone's getting released, and you know, they're not showing up for court, or you know, their court date is 10 years down the road. Just to eliminate that. It's like I said, it's not perfect. I wish everyone was getting detained. So obviously, the family units are still going to have to go through, you know, other processes.
Here's Donald Trump saying that he basically was the reason that the border bill was killed. And this is what Trump says as he gives all of his speeches now, that he killed the border bill. Here, play this clip.
So on Monday, go vote. Early voting, go vote. Let's not forget that this week we also had another massive victory that every conservative should celebrate. We crushed crooked Joe Biden's disastrous open borders bill. Crushed it. Mike Johnson did a very good job, and the whole group did a great job in Congress. We crushed.
Here's Mitt Romney, an actual voice of reason in the Republican Party right now, saying that it was horrible that Donald Trump killed a border bill because he wants to whine on it for re-election. Play the clip.
I think the border is a very important issue for Donald Trump, and the fact that he would communicate to Republican senators and congresspeople that he doesn't want us to solve the border problem because he wants to blame Biden for it is really appalling. But the reality is that we have a crisis at the border. The American people are suffering as a result of what's happening at the border, and someone running for president ought to try and get the problem solved, as opposed to saying, "Hey, save that problem, don't solve it."
And by the way, after killing the bipartisan border deal, then Donald Trump goes on his speeches and attacks NATO, like attacking NATO, attacking the premise of Article 5 of NATO, inviting Vladimir Putin to do horrible things to our allies. That's official position of the Republican Party now. So don't give me both sides. That ain't conservative. That's crazy, dangerous, and traitorous behavior. Here's Donald Trump saying it at a speech he gave in South Carolina just this past weekend. Play this clip.
They asked me that question. One of the presidents of a big country stood up and said, "Well, sir, if we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us?" I said, "You didn't pay? You're delinquent?" He said, "Yes, let's say that happened. No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. You got to pay. You got to pay your bills."
And by the way, this has historical roots. Trump's always been saying this. He's always been simping for Vladimir Putin. Here in 2014 is an interview from Donald Trump where he basically praises Vladimir Putin for invading Crimea. Play the clip.
All right, last name. Vladimir Putin.
Well, he's done an amazing job of taking the mantle, and he's taken it away from the president. And you look at what he's doing, and so smart. When you see the riots in a country because they're hurting the Russians, okay, we'll go and take it over. And he's really going step by step by step, and you have to give him a lot of credit. Interestingly, on the Miss Universe pageant, we just left Moscow. He could not have been nicer. He was so nice and so everything. But you have to give him credit that what he's doing for that country in terms of their world prestige is very strong.
Last thought. Who's the better leader? President Obama or President Putin?
Well, it's not even a contest at this point. Now, Obama can maybe come back and maybe something happens, but so far he has played Obama like a fiddle.
So tell me a little bit about Celebrity Apprentice. Now, here a friend of mine, Geraldo Rivera, may be involved.
And here is Hillary Clinton, who pretty much called it all. And this was her during the debate, saying that Donald Trump is a puppet of Putin. And Donald Trump's like, "I'm not a puppet. You're the puppet. You're the puppet." I mean, she told us, she gave us the roadmap of Donald Trump's treachery. Play this clip.
Putin, from everything I see, has no respect for this person.
Well, that's because he'd rather have a puppet as president of the United States.
No puppet.
And it's pretty clear.
You're the puppet.
It's pretty clear you won't admit that the Russians have engaged in cyber attacks against the United States of America, that you encouraged espionage against our people, that you are willing to spout the Putin line, sign up for his wish list, break up NATO, do whatever he wants to do, and that you continue to get help from him because he has a very clear favorite in this race.
So, folks, that's the status right now within the MAGA Republicans after killing the bipartisan border deal, telling everyone they wanted to link the bipartisan border deal to funding for Ukraine. That was done. They killed the bipartisan border deal. Now they want to undermine the funding to Ukraine in both the House, and even though it passed, they vote to advance it in the Senate. Now, while they're talking about amendments to have the MAGA Republicans, as you see, doing these talking filibusters to try to prevent it by reading Dr. Seuss books. So don't both sides this. Don't act like that's just normal conservatism. It ain't conservative, okay? Real conservatives would stand up to Vladimir Putin and recognize the threat and support our allies. This is MAGA Republican. This is MAGA right here. And I think real conservatives, independents, liberals, progressives, collectively pro-normalcy, pro-America, pro-American allies recognize what these MAGA Republicans are doing. Tell me what you think in the comment below. I'm Ben Meiselas. This is the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 3 million subscribers together, and have a great day.
Hey Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.